Well, we've got quite a few participants in. We're 1 minute past the hour, so I figure let's get started. We are back with our first Roomvo University webinar of 2024, and I'm super excited to be here. I appreciate you all taking the time out of your busy day to be here this afternoon. I hope that everyone's year has been off to a great start and that business has been treating you all well. I have officially taken over the reins as co-host from Brandon for our Roomvo University webinar series. So you'll be seeing a little bit more of me throughout the year with my lovely co-host Jim.
You're much better looking than Brandon. So
I'm not going to tell him you said that.
Yeah, okay.
You can tell him I said that.
I will. He'll see the recording tomorrow if he's not able to join.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a text right now on my phone.
Probably.
Yeah.
Hi, Brandon.
Yeah. With regards to exciting Roomvo updates, for those of you that were actually able to connect with us at Surfaces this year, you learned about the release of our Roomvo Virtual Associate, which is an AI-powered chatbot for our award-winning Roomvo sites. They are equipped with an extensive knowledge of the flooring industry, accompanied with personalized training on a per retailer basis. Our Roomvo Virtual Associate is your 24-hour RSA aimed to help drive traffic from your Roomvo site into your showroom. So with that, I wanted to show you all a demo of how our Roomvo Virtual Associate works. So let me pull up an example on one of our websites to show you the Virtual Associate in action. So can everybody see my screen, Chad?
Yeah, yep.
We're good to go?
Good. Yep.
All right. So you'll notice here in the bottom right corner, this little chat widget. If I open that up, this is the Roomvo Virtual Associate. So as a customer, I can type in any prompts based on what my needs are. So I am looking to renovate my living room and need new floors. And I'll hit enter. And within just a few seconds, our Roomvo Virtual Associate is going to share some examples of products that could work good or well in my space, or in this case, link me directly to the product catalog where I can view different products that are available to me. I can click on that link and you'll see that it pulls up the product catalog here where I can view all different products that will populate in the catalog for me to take a look at. Maybe I want to look at this Aladdin commercial product. We see it here and I'm all set and good to go. Now, maybe I want to see what else is out there. Maybe I've got a busy household.
I think your screen went off, Reed.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, your screen.
Let's try again. Let's try that once more. We'll share here. There we go.
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, so it's shown me the option for my product catalog, but maybe I've got a busy household. Maybe I've got 2 kids and a dog, and I want to see what it's going to share with me here. And a dog. Let's see what other options they give to me based on my busy household. So they're giving me suggestions for things that can be handled with high traffic, resistant to scratches, luxury vinyl, tile, prompts me right into the catalog and I can view what else is available for me. I take a look at the product catalog. I'm happy with what I see. Now I want to actually go ahead and book an appointment and visit the showroom. So maybe I say, I found a product. I want to book an appointment. From here, what it should do is actually prompt you to book an appointment directly through the website. I can click on the book appointment form. It'll take me right here to the form that exists on this retailer's page. I can fill in my information and hit book now, and I'm going to be directed to book that appointment, meet with that customer or with that retailer in the showroom, and have that opportunity to view those products in the showroom. So this is your 24/7 RSA. The idea is that customers who reach out to you outside of business hours have a way of still being in touch and interacting with your business, all with the goal of driving traffic directly from the website into your showroom. So If you have a Roomvo site today and you are interested in the Roomvo Virtual Associate, please reach out to your website account specialist to learn more about how you can get the Roomvo Virtual Associate on your website. And with that, let's get into some introduction so that we can start learning from our guest today, Chad Ogden. So introduction for Chad, of course, everyone knows he is the CEO of QFloors, a complete flooring software system that helps flooring dealers efficiently run all aspects of their business, raise their profits, and reduce stress. Chad is a third-generation flooring professional and grew up in flooring, so he knows a thing or two about our industry. QFloors has been a great partner to Roomvo over the past few years, and we are thrilled to have Chad join us again for another Roomvo University webinar. And to my awesome co-host, Jim, who needs no introduction, but of course deserves one. Jim Armstrong is an internationally known trainer and coach for flooring dealers and the founder and president of Flooring Success Systems, a marketing services and coaching program for dealers. Since 2007, thousands of retailers across the US and Canada have relied on Jim's methods to get more customers, get higher margins, gain an unfair advantage over the box stores, and live a lifestyle that they deserve. He's also an avid skydiver and a newfound maple candy addict, thanks to some of the treats we brought from him from Canada all the way to surfaces last month. So now that we've got that out of the way, Chad, I'm going to pass it over to you.
I have to address the treats that you got me. I came to the Roomvo booth and they had this lovely bag of Canadian treats. We had the fully loaded chips. What were those called? What was the flavor?
You got all dressed chips.
All dressed chips. They were like, go ahead.
Oh, and the ketchup chips, maple syrup, and the maple candies.
Yes. The dressed up chips, amazing. They were like extreme ranch. The ketchup chips, well, it must be a Canadian thing. It was interesting. It tasted like tomatoey barbecue flavored. The maple syrup, I've already used it all up. I told you, whole grain pancakes, man. I've used it. Was so good. And the candy was just like this confectionery maple amazing thing that my wife and I fought over and ultimately destroyed. So thank you, Reed and Brandon, if you're listening. That was awesome.
Of course.
And my daughter's sitting here commenting on the thing. My daughter's half Canadian, Jim. Like she lived up there for a couple of years, and she's saying, yeah, these Wonder Bars are the best. And now you got her going. She's going to keep going on this.
She gets it.
She gets it. She loves it.
All right. Well, all the snack talk is obviously making me hungry, but we're here for a purpose, and it's to learn a thing or two from you, Chad. So love to pass it over to you so that you can share with our audience ways that they can stop overpaying for credit card processing fees and how they can start putting money back in their pockets.
Yeah. And if I can, just for a second, maybe just give a little bit of background about why I'm into credit card processing, right? So we have been in different partnerships over the last 20 years with different credit card processing companies. So it's something that I've been very involved in for quite a long time. It's been a frustration for me, to tell you the truth, and for my customers. The industry is just really, I don't know how you say it, but sometimes the integrity could be questioned a little bit by how this really goes. And so over the last 20, 25 years, I've had a lot of opportunity to experience a lot of different things, see a lot of different things. And about 3 years ago, I finally had gotten so frustrated that we started our own credit card processing company. So that's kind of, I've had this pretty big background in it, seen a lot of different ways to do it, and I think I have a fairly good understanding in it, and that's who I am. That's why I want to pass on the information that I've learned, and I think I can do that in a fairly concise way that will make sense to a lot of people. So that's kind of just a little bit of a background. I brought with me a PowerPoint, if that's okay today, and we will be kind of watching this. Let me turn it on here. You guys see my screen there?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So let's get into this a little bit. How are we going to stop overpaying for credit card processing? Let's see here. All right. So, this is intended, this presentation today is intended to just give us all a better understanding of how this all works, because a lot of times I think that it's a mystery to a lot of people. So in my best way, I'm gonna try to do that. Usually when people come to us, they're always like, the very top thing is, well, how much am I going to pay? What is my fee going to be? And that's always the number one question. So I want to explain a little bit about what goes into your credit card fees and how people come up with those and what they're based on, right? So those fees, that 3%, that 2.5%, that amount that you have to pay every time that somebody gives you their credit card to pay for something, there are three different parts to those fees, okay? And I want to explain a little bit about all these three. The issuing bank has a fee, Visa and MasterCard has a fee, and then there's a processor fee that's involved in all of this. So I'm going to go into each one of these individually. The issuing bank. So you've all seen the commercials out there, Capital One, credit cards, Wells Fargo, you've seen their credit cards. So the issuing bank is one part of this, and they actually get the biggest part of that fee, right? 60 to 70% of the fees that you pay goes to the initial issuing bank, and they're the ones that set those fees. Those fees are based upon different kinds of credit cards. So for example, Wells Fargo, they will have a business card, they will have a travel card, they will have a cashback card, and then they'll have their low rate card. Each of these different issuing banks has a whole slew of different kinds of cards that you can sign up for. Every one of those cards has a different fee associated with it. So if somebody gives you a business card, right, that might be one of the most expensive cards that you could take, and it'll be up around 3% in a lot of cases, versus these personal cards down here that are just from like the local, credit union or something like that, which could be down as low as 1.5%. So you can see, depending on the kind of card that you're given, there is a huge range of fluctuation on the rate that you're going to pay, okay? So the issuing bank is the first kind of fee that you could, that goes, it's the first part that goes into this fee. Processing fees different for each card, okay? The second fee is the Visa MasterCard charge, and I'll talk a little bit about American Express here in a second. But Visa and MasterCard, they take a little chunk every time that you process a card. They're paid a little bit of chunk for their part, okay? It's not as big as the issuing bank, but there is a charge. This fee is also a fixed charge that you cannot change, okay? Just like the issuing bank, you have no control over that charge. You have no control over this Visa or MasterCard charge, okay? It's a fixed charge. Then you have the third part of the charge, which is the processor fee. And this is the part that is variable that you do have control over, okay? So it's not a huge portion of the fee usually, but it is a part of it that if you get, it's the part that that if you get a higher rate and you're paying too much, this is the part that you can control. And it just has to do with which processor you're going to choose to process your card, okay? So again, there's three parts. You've got the issuing bank, you got the Visa Master charge, and then you have the processor fee, okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about this here in a second. American Express and actually Discover, they're a little bit different in that they are their own bank. They are the issuing bank, okay? Where on the other ones, you've got a bank and Visa, two different entities involved. American Express is both of those combined together. So you're just basically going to get an Amex charge, and then you're going to have a processor fee, just like the other ones, on top of that Amex charge. Okay. All right. So, Jim, you got that? You got that all down? What goes into that fee there? I mean,
yes. What percentage approximately is the processor fee of the, if you pay $100 in fees, what is going to the processing that you have that control over?
so it depends on a lot of factors, which we're going to go over right now.
Okay.
But I mean, it could be as high as 30%, but it could be as low as 10%. So just depending on how big your company is and some different factors that we're going to go over, that's what we're getting to right now, the processing fees. What goes into those processing fees? So I'm gonna spend a little bit of time here so that we can understand that. Okay. So when we talk about processing fees, there are different strategies that the salesman that is going to show up to your door to try to sell you this, he's got a couple of different strategies that he's going to try to sell you on. Okay. And I've lumped these basically into three different kinds. There's a flat rate strategy, there's a cost plus strategy, and then there's a surcharging strategy. And we're going to talk about each one of these individually. And again, this just deals with the processing fee, has nothing to do with the Visa or the issuing bank. It's just the processing part, the part that we can control, right? So here we go. So we're going to talk about flat rate here for just a second, okay? Of course, we're in a floor covering industry here, so I am going to use a floor covering example for this. And it doesn't look like the whole thing is showing the whole slide. Some of it's off the side, but I'll explain it here. So what we're looking at here is a rack of flooring, right? And it's one display with 4 different products on it. And these costs that the part in the white are the costs of each product. That's the cost the dealer would pay. And the part that you can't see that's off the screen here on the full screen is $1 and $3. So the very top one is $1. The second one down is $2. The third one down is $3. Fourth one's $4. Pretty easy, right? And that's what the costs are to the dealer. But the price tag, or what they're showing to the customer when they walk in, is you can select any product off of this rack for $5 a square foot. Okay, they're all one price. It doesn't matter. The customers don't know what the costs are, and they can choose the top one, the $1 one, and pay $5 a square foot. Or they can choose the bottom one, which is $4 a square foot cost to the dealer, and they still get to pay $5 a square foot. Well, why am I showing you this? Well, because in the credit card example, it's almost like the same thing, okay? When you get a flat rate quoted to you for credit card processing, that means that no matter how much that card really costs, the credit card processor, they're going to charge you one flat rate, 2.75%, 2.8%, 2.9%. Doesn't matter, flat rate. And it doesn't matter which credit card. They could give you an expensive business credit card, or they could give you a very cheap, local credit union credit card. But we're always going to charge you 2.75. So I think you can pretty much see what the problem is with flat rate concept. It's good for certain amount of dealers, okay? So if you're a dealer in a very affluent area like New York City, or you're in a suburb where the people are very affluent, they're always buying high-end stuff, those people usually have very high-end credit cards, okay? They're the ones that have these expensive travel cards and Amex cards and all this kind of stuff that's very expensive. And a flat rate is usually good for them because they're always choosing the most expensive they're always taking the most expensive credit card. It would be similar to on this 4 square foot example, the customer always choosing 4 foot a square yard, right? Hardly ever choosing the $1 one. That would be like these dealers that are selling to people in very affluent areas. So a flat rate might be good for those kind of dealers. Or it could be pretty good for the very smallest dealers, like people that are doing under $500,000 a year in credit card processing, because the volume is so low, their rates are going to basically be higher, because the more volume you do, the better rate that you're going to get in credit card processing. So flat rate is good for some dealers, but it's not the majority of dealers that it's a good deal for. If you are not within these types of demographics, dealer, affluency or very small, flat rate is probably not the best for you. What are you thinking? Are you thinking is that clear there?
It makes a lot of sense. I love your analogy there. That you were explaining it a little bit before we met, and I was having trouble following you, but this makes perfect sense. So you're saying then that if somebody's in an affluent, if they're in an affluent area, those types of cards are less expensive to the dealer?
No,
They're more expensive to the dealer.
they're more expensive to the dealer.
There we go. Okay.
They're more expensive. It would be like they choose the $4 a square foot every time, right?
Right. So
And
the
so
flat fee kind of protects you a little bit.
exactly, it protects you because you're paying the same rate, even though those credit cards that they're giving you are really expensive every time.
Okay.
Right. So, that's how it might be good for people in very affluent areas. Okay. Usually what happens is this can happen is that you sign up for a flat rate, and then the processors start seeing that you're bringing in all these high costing cards. Well, guess what they're going to do? They're going to change your flat rate and say, we need to go up to 3% instead of 2.75 or whatever. That can happen also, right? If they start seeing that you're, always taking high-end cards. So that's
I was today years old when I learned that the type of card that you swipe, that affects how much you pay.
Yeah.
I did not realize that.
Unless you're on a flat rate.
Yes.
If you're on a flat rate, then it doesn't, right? Okay. So now we understand flat rate. Let's move a little bit more. So for the majority of dealers, it's not the best deal. It's a select few. Just to kind of continue with this, you'll also see what they call a tiered flat rate concept, which means now instead of having one rack, they might have a couple of different racks of products, where the first rack would be, if the credit cards fall within this range, it's going to be 2.5. If they fall within this range, it's going to be 2.75. If it's this, it'll be 3, right? So instead of one flat rate, they might have 2 or 3 flat rates. Okay, which is better. It's better than just having one flat rate, because it does give the dealer usually a little bit a better deal on what they're doing. So usually a little more of a tiered flat rate is better than just one flat rate. I still don't think it's the best option, but it's a better than just one. Okay, so that's a tiered flat rate. Now we're going to change modes here and go into something completely different. This is called cost plus. And so instead of getting a flat rate every time a credit card is charged, this concept is that we're going to take the actual cost of running that card that is given to you. So let's say that the card is 1.5%. We're going to charge a flat rate, or not a flat rate, a cost that goes on top of that 1.5%. And if the card that they give us is 2.5%, we'll charge the same amount on top of the 2.5%, right? So it's basically adjusting for high and low costing credit cards. Let me just kind of show you this. So the cost of each transaction plus a constant rate, which in the industry is called basis points. Okay. Basis points is the amount that you are going to get charged on top of the actual cost. And that's why we call it cost plus. Okay. And you can kind of see this chart over here on the left-hand side, it shows you that 50 basis points is a 0.5%, 100 basis points is 1%. You know, this is how you know when somebody says, we're going to charge you 30 basis points. Well, that's like 0.3%. Okay. So that's how you know. And these rates are based on annual processing dollars. So it's basically you know, the amount of processing that you're doing in a year, it's volume based. And so if you're doing a lot of volume, your basis points will be lower, or the amount that you're charged on above the cost will be lower. So let's just say that you're doing $1 million a year in processing. You're going to be charged one rate. And let me just show you, typically 60 basis points is really high. So if you're getting charged 80 basis points, even if you're a very small store and doing very low volume, it's probably really high. If you're getting charged 30 basis points, 35 basis points, you're kind of in the middle there. That's kind of the middle thing. 20 basis points would be a really good rate. Okay. So, you know, the people that are doing $20 million a year in processing, they're going to be getting down into the 20 area. People that are doing, you know, 7 to 8 are probably, you know, in the 30, 25 to 30 range. So it just depends on how much volume you're doing. Here's the crazy part. We regularly see people getting charged 100 basis points when we take in their statements and look at them. There are people that are out there that are, I mean, they're getting taken advantage of. If 60 to 70 basis points is the highest you should ever be charged, even if you're a very small store and you're getting charged 100, you're getting taken advantage of. Okay. And these processors are not against doing that. Just so you know, and that's one of the reasons why we have the processing industry has a pretty bad reputation. Okay. And so I'll just tell you this. Let me just tell you this one story within the last 3 months. So this is not something that happened a long time ago or any. Within the last 3 months, there was a dealer, $3 million a year. They were overpaying $35,000 a year on their credit card processing because their basis points was actually around 200 basis points. Okay. And it cost them $35,000. And this is not a big dealer. You know, I could see if it were a $100 million dealer or something like that. And so it does exist out there where people are absolutely getting taken advantage of with this. Okay. So we have flat rate and we have cost plus. Okay. In general, this is what we do. We do cost plus because in general, the dealers are going to get a much better rate and a much better deal if they're on a cost plus plan versus a flat rate plan. Okay. So just kind of give you an idea, if you're processing $10,000, 60 basis points would be $60, right? You know, if you're doing, you know, 10,000, it would be 600. If you're doing 1 million, it would be 6,000. Okay.
So Chad, on the smaller dealers, you know, where that maybe a flat rate could work for them, is this also a possibility as well?
It is. They're going to get, almost every dealer is going to get still, if they're getting charged 60 basis points, it's going to be almost equivalent to what they're getting on the flat rate. There might be a few, like I said, if you're under $500,000 a year, a flat rate might make more sense. But the majority of dealers, even this is going to be a better option in most cases. Now, if you're getting charged 100 basis points, it won't be, right? So if you're getting charged 100 basis points, then you should be on a flat rate, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
But if you're getting charged 60, then you know it's going to become pretty equivalent. Okay. So you got to know how many if you're on a cost plus system, you got to know how many basis points you're being charged. You just got to know. Okay. And if you don't know, then you call somebody like me and I tell you. I can look at your credit card statements. We'll go over that here in a second and I can help you out. Okay. All right. So, and then just this last thing down here that I was showing. One thing that people don't really know, this is kind of a tip. for y'all. So if you're on Cost Plus, which a great deal of you are, I know you are. If you're on Cost Plus, if you type in when you're typing, if you're not putting a credit card into a credit card reader, if you're typing it in on a website, if you're typing it in on a system that requiring you to put a zip code in, if you put a bad zip code in on that one transaction, it could cost you an extra 50 basis points for a bad zip code, or in layman's term, 0.5%. So if you would have gotten charged 2%, a bad zip code will be 2.5% at least. I've seen it go up to 75 basis points on a bad zip code. So the reason I bring this up, the majority of processors will not tell you if you're typing in a bad zip code. They'll just say, oh, bad zip code, that's okay, we'll still process. And so you will get charged the extra amount without even knowing it. So here's my tip. If you're not sure what your processor does right now, you can check it out. All you have to do is go to your website or wherever you type in a zip code to do a processing, and go ahead and type your own credit card in, right? Like do a test with your own credit card. Type in a bad zip code for your credit card, just some random zip code. And if it still processes for you, you know that you just got charged 50 basis points more than you should have. Okay.
It reminds me of bank fees. Like if
Yeah.
you have an overdraft fee, banks love that. That's just free money.
Yeah. This is actually not as much like that because, I mean, you know what that 50 basis points is? It's really what it is it's saying the zip code's bad. So the possibility that this credit card is stolen or something is bad. So it's a risk factor. They're saying, hey, this is a high risk. We're going to charge you for that higher risk. The thing is they never tell you about it, right? They don't want to cause any problems or any waves or anything like that. So they just pass it through and say, we're going to charge you more. Okay. It's just a tip that you want to look at, and you can tell with your credit card processor. Just by fixing this one thing, could be thousands of dollars a month for you. If you're big enough, this one little tip could save you a lot of money every month. Okay.
So you're saying that the sales people or whoever's inputting those credit cards, they should be making real sure that they're putting the correct zip code in.
No, that isn't what because they won't know. They won't know if it's wrong or right, because a lot of times the customers don't even know the zip code that goes with their credit card.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What I'm saying is your processor should stop you from running it through if you put in a bad zip code. They should pop up something saying, this is a bad zip code, put in the right one. And
so the fix is having a process that alerts you.
That's right. And and this is why I'm bringing it up, is because most do not. Most do not. Like 90% do not, because they don't want to cause any kind of a pause in taking a payment, even though it's going to cost you a 0.5 percentage point.
So Chad, I wonder, is like another way that retailers can potentially avoid bad zip codes and also potential fraud, should they be asking for ID when they're accepting the credit card as well to kind of do a second check?
We've got a whole slide on that coming up.
Getting ahead of myself.
No, that means that you're listening. At least somebody's listening. That's good. You're not off snoring. But no, that's a great question, and I've got a whole slide just for that here coming up. All right. So cost plus, great, but these are some of the things that you have to be aware of. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to come to the third. So we have, let me just review. We have flat rate tiered, cost plus, and now this is like really the third strategy that you have, and it's a great one. It's brand new. Most people have heard of it, but don't understand it. We only have, with our customers, there's only about 20% of our customers that use this strategy. So we offer to our customers both cost plus or surcharging, either one. But this is a great option. And Jim, you asked me how I'm going to save $30,000 a month, or a year. My credit, this is the ticket here, if you can go to this, okay? So the basic idea is that there have been laws that have been enacted in the last 6 years, pretty much nationally. There's maybe a state or two, I can't remember exactly which one, but that may be a problem with this, but almost all states will have this option available now. And basically the concept is that you're going to be passing the processing fee onto the customer instead of the dealer absorbing that fee. Okay. And this is legal now, and there's some strategies to do. It's called surcharging. It covers a large portion of the dealer's processing fees to do this, but not all. There are still some fees that you would incur. Like if you took a debit card, there's still a fee that you would happen there. If you took an ACH, there's still a fee, even though those fees are so much lower. Like, I mean, some debit cards are less than 1% for the fee. So if you take a debit card, it's like 3 or 4 times less than if you take a credit card in a lot of cases. ACH is way, way less also. And then there's some amount, monthly account fees that you might also pay. So it's not completely free surcharging, but you're going to cover 75 to 80% of your costs with this. All right. So I do want to bring up, though, it is highly regulated. If you're going to go to surcharging, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to charge somebody extra because they're using a credit card, which a lot of you are doing right now, and you shouldn't be doing it that way. Okay.
Okay, so this is one of the things that I mentioned in the right on the registration page for this. Is there's a mistake that a lot of dealers are making that can cost you your ability to charge credit cards and so forth. And as this is the one
this is the one where yeah, I'll get to that here. This is the one where you kind of have to pay attention. It's a great thing because it's going to save so much money, but you got to do it the right way, right? So we'll talk about that. One of the regulations is you cannot charge more than 3%. There's a cap. Last April, they came out and it was changed from 4% to 3%. So if you're charging more than 3%, that's a problem. Okay, it's regulated. You must use a processor supporting surcharging. Most do nowadays, not everybody does, but most are doing it. Some processors are going to try to not get you to do surcharging, especially if they're not going to make as much money. So just be aware, you need to be with a processor that's going to support it. You call them up and say, I want to change over to surcharging 3%, and they should be able to do that for you. Okay. But you have to change it with your processor if you're going to go to surcharging. You can't just start charging things out of the blue. The other thing about this is you cannot make money on a surcharge. It's kind of like sales tax. You're charging sales tax, but you got to remit the whole thing, right? Same thing on surcharging. If you charge 3%, you've got to remit the whole 3% back to the company. Okay, so you got to remit it all. Okay, you can't charge 3 and remit 2.5. Okay, because of these other limitations, you really can't go onto a sales order and put a line on there that says credit card charge or surcharge or whatever and charge a fee to the customer for the credit card on the sales order itself. This is the number one mistake that everybody is making. Okay, this is what we're talking about, Jim. So this is what you're bringing up. If you have a lawyer that knows this, it's the lawyers that always cause the problem. Let me tell you, because they think they're smarter than everybody else, and they know the laws, they know the regulations. And so if you're trying to do this the wrong way and they come in and call you on it and say, you can't charge me that on that line, and then you try to do it, well, guess what they're going to do? They're going to call up Visa and MasterCard and say, this person, I'm just telling you, to avoid the problem, do not do this. We've had examples of this happen. And so it only takes one person out of 1,000 to cause the problem. Okay. Somebody that knows the regulations, and then they'll just, cause a problem for you. So I would not do it this way. Okay. And many of you are. So change is my suggestion. Okay. It's best if you have software that supports surcharging. Okay. It's just going to make it so much easier to collect the money and to remit the money. And I mean, it can get pretty complicated, you guys. Like, let's say that you have a sales order, the customer comes in, they give you a down payment, 50% down, they charge it on a credit card. And then they come and the balance comes in on a check, or they make 2 more payments on a check. Well, how are you keeping track of how much should I be surcharging? How much am I mean, it's a mess if you try to do it manually. And so I really suggest that you use software that supports the accounting and collecting and doing all this if you're going to do surcharging. Okay. And then the last regulation is pretty simple. You must prominently display in your store that you are surcharging. Okay. So you've got to have signage on your sales orders, your customer invoices. You've got to have stuff on there that talks about surcharging. So, you know, there's some things. My point is there are some things that you really need to do when you're going to do surcharging. It isn't just simply, oh, I think I'm going to charge 3% to this customer now, if that makes sense. Okay.
Yep.
But it's great. This is a great thing. And let me just show you why. What does all this stuff mean that I've been talking to you about, right? So you're going to have salespeople reaching out to you to try to sell you on some of these different products. So here's a couple of things to keep in mind. Okay. Surcharging. A dealer can save a ton of money if they can implement surcharging in their business. Not everybody can, right? Sometimes you have customers that are sensitive to this. Maybe there's a Home Depot right next to you, and the Home Depot's not going to surcharge so that you can't search. You know, there might be some things like that where you just feel like you can't do it. But if you can implement this, this is a great thing for your business. It's going to save you a ton of money. You can count on reducing your credit card fees by at least 75%. I think in some cases it might even be higher. Depends on how many debit cards you take and ACH and stuff like that. Okay. So here's one example. One of our customers paid $156,000 in credit card fees in 2021. Okay. After switching over to surcharging, their bill went down to $36,000. That's $120,000. Now, this dealer's somewhat sizable, 3 locations, but look, even if you take the same kind of ratio for even a smaller store, you know, that's having to pay $50,000 a year, you're still going to save, you know, $30,000. So it's nothing to sneeze at, right? The bigger the dealer, the more you'll save.
Let me just back up what Chad's saying. We have in our flooring success systems, we have a lot of dealers, and we do, we teach them how to sell. We do a lot to support them, to help them make more money. And we have some of them that are doing surcharging, and it's working out really well for them. Any of you that are afraid of this, my advice is to step up your selling, creating differentiation from your competitors, making your business the obvious choice is what helps you to not have to be the low price leader, the Walmart of flooring in your area. So I would Chad, is this something that if they wanted to test and see what the response was, how hard would it be for them to say, test this for a month?
Yeah, they can test it and then they can turn it back off. So if you wanted to, we've had some customers do it. The majority of our customers stay on it. Let me just say that the people that switch, majority are not coming off, but we've had a couple where this isn't working for me. And you can just switch them back pretty easily. It's not hard to switch back or forth. I will say that the software is key in this. If you don't have software to support it, I wouldn't do it.
So, Chad, what percentage of the dealers who try it wind up switching back?
1%, 2%.
Okay, so 98% of these dealers that switch are now pocketing money, free money, that they were previously giving away to other companies, 98% of them stick with it because they're not losing business. And that's the point I was trying to make. You are not going to lose business by doing this. Almost nobody is going to lose business by doing this.
We have testimonials from people, this guy in particular, he's like, yeah, everybody said, you can't do this. And his salespeople told him they couldn't do it. And, all this. And he's like, I don't care. I'm going to save $120,000. And he's like, it's not even an issue. Now that they know how to talk about it, right? Some of it is just knowing how to talk about it. And now that they know how to do that, it's fine.
So Chad, that leads me to a question. So you mentioned today roughly 80% of customers are going with or retailers are going with the cost plus method. 20% are with surcharge, or again, rough numbers. Why is it that the amount of dealers that are taking advantage of surcharge is so low, considering the huge benefits that you've shared with us?
It's new. It's, you always have the front runner guys, the implementers that, are not afraid to take the risks. So it's just new and it's just not familiar to most people. I think they're just scared of the backlash that their customers would have against either competitors. Probably that's the biggest reason that is preventing people from doing this, in my opinion.
Yeah, so this session here, just creating awareness and educating our industry is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see more and more people go this way. I mean, you're already seeing all the coffee shops, all the restaurants, everybody is going to this, right? And so the more familiar they get, the more they see it, the more they're not going to have a problem with it.
Real quick,
Can I just say this?
Yeah.
QFloors just started at the first of the year surcharging all of our customers. Okay, so we've implemented it ourselves within our own company.
So I'm going to do a quick poll as you move on to the next thing, and then we'll read the results at the end. How many of you did not know about surcharging until today? Put did not know in the question box. If you did not know about surcharging before today, put did not know in the question box. I'm curious to see how many people just weren't even aware of it.
All right. Perfect. All right, let's move on. Let me see. I've got a few more things here. A couple more things to consider. Cost plus, I think, is the next best option. Flat rate in general is probably the least best if you're on a flat rate plan. Okay, just in general. Another couple of things just to consider. Sometimes there's these things called junk fees, where they're fees that you're getting charged just because, and they're not real fees. One of the popular one is called PCI certification. If you look at your statement and you see something like PCI certification fee, that's a bunch of bunk. Shouldn't be charged that. There are a couple of valid fees, monthly connection fees, gateway fees, $40 to $50 a month per transaction fee, 20 cents, right? In this range, 10 to 20 cents. So there are some valid fees, but there are also some junk fees, okay? If you want, I know trying to understand what the junk fees are, what your rates are, all that kind of stuff. If you look at your statement, a lot of you don't even know, like it's impossible to tell what you're even looking at sometimes. And if you need help with that, and if you just email us, we have two different places where you can email. For our QFloors customers, sales@qprosoftware.com. For non-QFloors customers, info@mountaintoppayments.com. If you just email us your most current statement, we will look at that statement and we'll tell you, oh, you're getting screwed here, or no, you've got a great rate, things look good. We'll kind of evaluate it for you real quick and give you an idea of what you're looking at. Even point out maybe the junk fees that are on there that shouldn't be on there, so you can go back to your processor and say, hey, look, I'm being told that this is not a fair fee. We're willing to do that for you, just as a service, because look, I know that a lot of you don't have any idea of what you're looking at when you're looking at a statement. Okay, so we'll provide this for you if you want help.
All of you take a screenshot of this screen. Sorry. I screwed up your flow there, Chad. I'm
No, you're
sorry.
good. You're good.
Take a screenshot of this. Take advantage of this, guys. Chad's been in the industry forever. He's a solid guy. I've known Chad personally for years and years. Honest. He's just a great guy. They're going to give you an honest answer on this.
Just,
I can
just take a picture with your phone.
Yeah, do that too. Take a picture with your phone here. Get this email. Send it over to him. What have you got to lose? I mean, what if it turned out you pocketed an extra 20,000 a year? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot. You could buy a car with that easily, right?
Yeah.
That could be a car payment. It could be a nice vacation. It could be a whole lot of things for your business. So take advantage of this.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Where are we at here? Oh, I'm just going to mention this really briefly. We're kind of out of time, but there is a scam going around the floor covering industry. I'm not going to get too much into it. Just basically, it's somebody will call up. They're wanting to purchase something with cash and carry. They need it fast. And they're going to send their installer over to pick it up, right? And so they want to give you a credit card over the phone. If all these things are lining up right here, sometimes the card that they're going to give you is stolen, still good, but stolen, and it will go through, it will process, you'll give them their stuff, and then 2 weeks later, they'll come back and the cards comes back as being stolen. The dealers are on the hook for taking stolen credit cards, just so you know. And the average loss is about $10,000. I get about 1 or 2 of these every month where one of my customers call me on the phone. Hey, I shouldn't be responsible for this or whatever. Just so you know, you are responsible for taking stolen cards. If you want to know more about this, you can just go to, you can Google credit card scams, QFloors right here, and you'll see the QFloors. There's a news article called Credit Card Scams. And we will, on this webpage, we give you a list of things that you can do to minimize your risk on this. Okay. So,
Great.
I'm just gonna kind of end it here. There are some integration possibilities with this, but there are so many software programs right now. Like I think we have 20 or 30 integration points from our software to credit card processing. So there are some things you can take advantage with when you're going to integrate. But I just want to mention that software integration is pretty important nowadays for credit card payments. So just be aware of that. I think I got through it all.
All right.
You did. With just a few minutes left to spare, we wanted to open up the floor to Q&A. Any of you in the audience that have questions for Chad, feel free to type them in and we can rhyme them off while we still have some time. Chad, we actually have a couple that have already come in. So to get started, Lawrence asks, in addition to these, we got charged for an annual infrastructure investment fee this past year. Is that something that you're familiar with?
It's a junk fee.
There we go. So Lawrence, you're a perfect candidate for sending your statement over to Chad and the QFloors team. Let them analyze your statement and see if there's any other fees that you might be being charged that you shouldn't be.
Yeah, just send it over to us and I can pretty much tell you that is not it's just a junk fee, and a junk fee is where the processor's trying to make more money off you when they shouldn't. So
awesome.
I have a question. Does QFloors support the surcharging processing?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, in fact, in our business, we run our own processing through QPay. We use all of our own stuff for our company. And we are using surcharging. Yes.
By the way, I will say this before Reed gets to the next question. Of all the people that answered the whether they knew about surcharging before today, half of them did not know. About half didn't know. So we've really educated a lot of people on this.
Perfect. That's a good thing to know.
Dan asks, can we charge a surcharge over a certain dollar amount? Like, could you choose after a certain value that you then start charging a surcharge, or does it have to be consistent across all purchases?
In the regulation, if you're a surcharging company, you really should be surcharging everybody. I mean, under a certain dollar amount, like if it's, let's just say it's $1. Well, the surcharge is going to be 3 cents. I don't think that the customer is going to care if they're getting charged 3 cents on $1. So really, the people that are going to care more are the ones are that you're going to charge $10,000, right?
Yes.
Those are the ones that are going to care the most, and really those are the ones you care the most about. So I would say, just for simplicity's sake, keep it uniform across the whole thing. I will say this, every now and again on surcharging, sometimes you'll get some customers that are really adamant that they're not going to pay it. There are ways that you can, kind of negate that and help the customer out. You might go onto the invoice and say, hey, look, I'm going to give you a $50 credit here, and that will cover the surcharge or something like that. So there's things that you can do.
Okay.
We have somebody ask, how do we know how much the surcharge percentage should be?
Well, it can't be any more than 3%. So 3% is the maximum. I would say, today, as of today, almost all processing companies are charging 3%. So if you're getting something lower than that, then great. That's great for it doesn't really matter to you what the percentage is. It matters to the customer what the percentage is, right? You don't care if it's 3 or 2, but the customer is the one that's going to be paying it. And so, but I would say that you cannot, by regulation, as of today, as of this webinar, you cannot charge more than 3%. That's the regulation throughout the whole industry.
All right. And then the last question is, as a retailer who does over $10 million a year with an average ticket size being 5 to 10,000, do you think that surcharging would scare people away to a big box store?
I all I know is that the customers that have implemented this have big box stores all around them, right? Some people are scared to do it because of that, but the people that have done it, very few have gone back and have gone away from it. So I would say if you're committed to it, if your store's committed to it, you're going to learn how to talk to people about it so that you won't have that problem. You're going to sell other parts of this, and I would say that you're going to become better at selling it and knowing how to sell it. That's Jim's expertise, right? Of how to pitch this. But I'm pretty sure that you would figure out how to say it in the right way so that you're not going to lose sales over it.
Yeah,
thing.
and I think, oh,
Go ahead,
sorry,
Jim.
Jim. I was just going to say to kind of add on to that, I think the value that the independent retailer brings to the shopping experience and their level of knowledge, that additional value, customers won't have an issue because of the quality of service that they're getting across the board.
And let me, before you go in there, Jim, let me add this real quick. They have an option to pay with ACH or debit cards, right? They don't have to pay it. They're choosing. And it's usually people that want points on their credit card that are giving you that credit card. They don't have to use it. You're supplying them with other options. Oh, you don't want to pay the surcharge? All right, we'll take an ACH payment from you. Let's type it in. And they're like, oh no, I want my points. Oh, well, okay, then we're going to charge you a surcharge because I'm not going to pay for your vacation.
There you go.
I'm sorry, Jim, for interrupting, but go ahead.
No problem. Two things very quickly because we're out of time. First, yes, you can sell with this. It absolutely can be done. You shouldn't be afraid of it. Second thing is, Chad, real quick, if people want to get more information, they're interested in QFloors or Mountaintop Payments, how should they get a hold of you?
I would say just email us and we will respond to you. That screen that you had right there, either one of those, you can go to our website, QFloors.com or mountaintoppayments.com, either of those websites. And there are links that you can type in. We have chat boxes. All kinds of ways. Our website's the best way to get a hold of us if you don't want to use the email.
Chad, is there anything else you'd like to add about either Mountaintop Payments or QFloors before
Well,
we
I
wrap?
think I've been pretty passionate. My voice is going, so I know I've been yelling. But no, I think you can feel I am passionate about this. And it's just because our industry has been so underserved with credit card processing for so long. And so this is a passion of mine to fix it and to provide something to people that so that they can feel comfortable with what's going on here.
Yeah. And we appreciate you helping educate the industry and share your knowledge with everyone. I know that we're out of time, so I wanted to thank everybody for joining and participating in the conversation. Our first Roomvo University of 2024 was a huge success, and we appreciate you all participating. I included the 2 emails that Chad shared in his presentation in the chat. Feel free to copy those if you want to send your statements over to be analyzed, or if you have any follow-up questions. Feel free to reach out to Chad as well. So thank you all for your time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you at our next Roomvo University webinar in the next couple of months. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.